Rise and shine, it's a brand new day with Mo and News. It's time to have your say. She's got the scoop, the stories, all the latest trends. Mo's got the news, let's hear it. My dear friends, from politics to showbiz, no story's too small. Mo covers it all. She's got the inside call, her voice so smooth, like honey in the summer sun. With Mo on the mic, you know the news is always fun. Mornings with Mo, the best newsy news in the world. With her style so classic and her stories unfurled, from morning till night, she's got us in the know. Turn on your radio, let Mo's newsy news flow.
Hello and welcome everyone. It is October the 8th, 2024, also Prime Day. Though you guys, I'm going to be real honest with you. I have not seen anything that you need to rush out and buy, although I am not in the market for electronical stuff. So that being said, I am looking at ridiculous stuff. Welcome, Wolfram. Thank you for doing your Modly Mod things. And Tammy, good morning. Squid Pro Quo. And Alice G, good morning. And Swifty, good morning. So we have a lot to go over. Obviously, this is probably going to be, not probably, it is going to be a, Milton-centric kind of newscast, just because there are a lot of things going on and a lot of pretty serious warnings going out. The Tampa mayor issues a dire warning before Hurricane Milton. Quote, if you choose to stay, you are going to die, end quote. Good morning, Spirit Matter. The mayor of Tampa, a city that's in the crosshair of Hurricane Milton, issued a grave warning to Florida residents who do not heed the calls to evacuate ahead of the monster storm. Quote, if you choose to stay, you are going to die, Mayor Jane Castor bluntly said on CNN while talking about the dangers of Milton, a literally catastrophic, quote unquote, Category 5 hurricane that is barreling toward the Sunshine State's coast. The powerful storm could hit Florida as early as Wednesday and be more destructive than deadly Hurricane Helene, which ripped through parts of the Sunshine State last week. Castor emphasized that attempting to ride out the storm would, not could, but would prove fatal. The time to flee is now, and she urged residents in evacuation zones. I can tell you right now, they may have done that in others, but there's never been one like this, Castor said on CNN. And Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And when I say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you are going to die. Castor, who's been in office since 2019, noted some forecast predictions predict a tidal surge of 10 to 12 feet. Helene's tidal surge was 6 feet. And that is literally devastating to many of our coastal areas, she said, of Helene's disastrous path. Okay, I like that you're being I like that you're being very, cautionary, but if you use the word literally one more time, ma'am, it's one of my pet peeves. Everything is not literally everything. For the love of all that is Cheetos, I think I will limit everyone to only using literally in the true and correct grammatical sense when I am president. Milton is already the second strongest Gulf hurricane in recorded history, and experts believe it will only grow stronger as it approaches Florida. The storm winds are already a stunning 180 miles per hour, with heavy downpours also expected. This is something, and Jedi Jess brings up a good point. I mean, if you were, again, a news junkie and you were watching feeds from different people last night, I mean, they are running out of gas on the evacuation paths out of these areas. So you have people just basically stranded on the highway. I mean, at some point, you can do as much as you can humanly do, But what are you supposed to do if you have no more gas? If all the gas stations are completely dry, what are you supposed to do? You know, if you don't have a home, if you lost all your assets, where are you supposed to go? So I get that this is really good advice, but I think sometimes saying these true things doesn't give enough understanding to the real on the ground reality. It's exactly like what I talk about between corporate and, on the floor retail associates. Yes, you can maybe have a vague idea if you were in corporate and think that a new policy is going to do great. But people on the floor are going to tell you whether that actually works, whether it's actually feasible, or it's going to be something that they have to work around. And that's what I don't like with these big, sort of grandiose statements. Milton is, oh, there we go. This is something I've never seen in my life, and I can tell you anyone born and raised in Tampa Bay area has never seen anything like this before, she stressed. People need to get out. Oh, good. Wolfram, thank you for letting us know. It has been downgraded to a category 4, but my goodness, it's still going to be a mega storm. Please be as careful and as safe as you can within, your realm of reality. Let's be real. Some people don't have the money to go to these high priced hotels that are going to gouge people because they can make a lot of money. You know, people are renting out hotel rooms still in Tennessee and they're charging $400 a night. Squid pro quo, I don't think it's selfish. I think it's honest. It's honest. When you are already dealing with an S storm, in your life, it's honest to say, God, I wish it didn't come here, but that doesn't mean you wish it goes somewhere else and hurts other people. It just means I am at the level of Danny Glover, Lethal Weapon 4, done with this shit, and I would need a break. But I can handle it if it comes. It's an honest thing. I wish we wouldn't attack people for being honest. For goodness sake, go up to anyone and say, "Hey, would you like to deal with another shitstorm in your life?" And they'd be like, "Hell no." At least I would. Uh, we have predicted this storm surge and it's not survivable. A long line of cars were already on the road Monday night, and shelves in supermarkets across the area were barren from panic buying. It's absolutely, my heart, my thoughts, my prayers go out to everyone that's been affected. I mean, there are people out there that are still lost, that have lost everything. And now this is like a sucker punch right after getting, well, dropped to the floor. It's terrible. And a story to kind of emphasize that it's easy to say the word evacuate, but it's not always easy to do. Evacuation panic in Florida ahead of Hurricane Milton sparks widespread backups and shortages. Now, I am not familiar with geography, and God knows you don't want me to give you directions, but there were reports last night, from what I was seeing, that there were roads that were closed down. I guess one of the major arteries out of the area had been shut down. This might be pure speculation. I might be misunderstanding how one gets in and out of Tampa since I haven't been there before that I remember. But there were a lot of people posting, "Hey, they've shut down one of the highways," and it's really, really disingenuous for the mayor to sit here and say everyone evacuate, knowing all of these things are going on the ground. And the reality might be that people can't. Highways out of Florida are backed up for miles as panicked residents attempt to flee the state before Hurricane Milton's landfall later this week. Hurricane Milton, at the time of the article writing, was a Category 5, the highest rating on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. It is expected to have winds stronger than 157 miles per hour. In Hillsborough County, home to nearly 1 million people in the Tampa Bay area, residents are scrambling as local leadership orders evacuations of Zone A and B, essentially anyone living immediately on the coast or just outside. And I mean, this is insanity. there's again, it's easy to say something, but reality is often quite difficult. We have ordered evacuations for zones A and B for a very good reason, Hillsborough County Fire Chief Jason Doherty said during a press brief in Tampa, as reported by the Florida Phoenix. If you remain here, you could pass away. My men and women could pass away trying to rescue you. They are heroes, but please don't put them in that situation. Help out by leaving zones A and B today. After the destruction caused by Hurricane Helene, many are heeding these warnings and leaving as soon as they can. I-75 and I-20 or 275 northbound leading out of Tampa Bay have both faced near standstill traffic all day, according to a video shared by Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Supermarket shelves around Tampa Bay are barren as panicked evacuees grab what they can before hitting the road. Some have even taken to X to share intel about stocked stores nearby. Other businesses are offering protection against floods, like offering complimentary sandbags with purchases. Gas stations across the state are experiencing fuel shortages, too, making it even more difficult to escape. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the state has deployed 250,000 gallons of gas to help shore up the supply, with 315,000 more gallons en route as of Monday, according to WINK. The city of Tampa is doing what it can to protect and support its community, offering free parking in garages with at least 3 floors to keep cars safe from flooding. The National Guard has been called in advance, with Tropicana Field, usually home to the MLB's Tampa Bay Rays, being converted into a shelter for soldiers. Following Hurricane Helene's landfall, which killed 14 people across 4 Tampa Bay area counties, local officials and leaders are making sure every resident knows just how bad and how deadly the Category 5 storm will be. It's going to be a surge event. It's going to be a rain event. It's going to be a wind event, and if it stays on its predicted trajectory, we are in for over a century's storm here with Milton. It's the real deal here with Milton. Even those outside of Tampa Bay area are considering fleeing as businesses start to close ahead of the hurricane. We are technically in a non-evac zone, but we are thinking of leaving due to the surge anyway. Not sure what to do here, hoping I don't lose my job if I do evac, said one ex-poster. For decades, they have talked about a major hurricane hitting Tampa Bay the right way and how catastrophic it would be. This storm is shaping up this way. This storm is not something, or is something that should make people seriously heed whatever warnings come out. Hurricane Milton is expected to cut through Florida starting Wednesday or early Thursday. So again, 2 different stories kind of showing both the, wisdom and the orders, but also the reality that sometimes it is impossible to flee these areas. And it's a terrible thing. And I know if you're like me, that you can feel a little helpless when these things come up. You want to donate, you want to do everything to help. In my personal experience, praying and, thinking about the people that are in the storm's path, it might be silly to a lot of you. You might not have that sort of faith journey, and that's okay. I am not here as the world's worst Christian. I am not here to tell you how to think. But I will say it helps me, and not selfishly, because I do believe that it helps other people. So it's absolutely, if you believe in the power of prayer, like Squid Pro Quo says, now's the time to pray. I have never seen a problem unless you pray sometimes like me and you're like, goodness, I hope that the next time this person is in like a slow lane, they have a, shart that isn't a shart. That's a bad prayer. Anywho, just letting you know, as the world's worst Christian, those are not good prayers. But ones for people's safety, to heal heartbreak, to, give strength. I think those are great. In a story that we had covered before, but the motivation for this crime was not yet known, hit the 2 adults first. A woman learned her fiance was having an affair, so she manipulated him into murdering the lover and her family, police officers said. So, this was a story where we had this quadruple unaliving that included two precious little babies. And it was kind of a mystery as to what happened in this case. Well, now these are finally coming out. Romeoville, Illinois was where this case was. So cops in Illinois released their final report on a quadruple murder that took the lives of two young children last year, which untangled a wild web of lies, manipulation, orchestrated by a scorned lover. Police responded to a home in the Chicago suburb for a well-being check shortly before 9 p.m. on September 17th, 2023, after one of the family members did not show up for work. Officers who arrived on the scene looked through the window and saw multiple dogs that had passed away in a violent. Yes, this has been, she has been delayed because of, well, another natural act of disaster. So the cops entered the home and found four bodies. Alberto Rolon, 38, his wife Zoradia Bartolome, 32, and their two sons, 9-year-old Adriel and 7-year-old Diego. And I would just like to pause here for a minute and say, God bless those first responders. I can imagine the scars it puts on your heart, on your souls, to have to. No problem, King Bob. Hope you get some good news from the doctor and something that helps. Um, I can't imagine walking in and seeing the utter devastation that jealous, hateful, mean-spirited hearts can do to another, especially with children. So I appreciate it. I know there are good cops and bad cops, and I don't want to have that discussion right now. But I know my heart, my soul would be scarred for life if I had to walk into scenes like this every day. And I can't imagine having to deal with that. The Romeoville Police Department sent its final report on the homicide to local television stations. Over the ensuing week and months, detectives allegedly uncovered a convoluted plot masterminded by the fiancé of Bartolome's lover. According to the police, Bartolome began a long-standing affair with a co-worker, 32-year-old Nathan Huey Jr. At some point, Huey's fiancée, 50-year-old Ermelinda Palomo, learned of the affair. Police say Palomo then created multiple online personas over several years, posting as members of a Mexican drug cartel and convincing Huey that he was a member of the organization. Oh my gosh, what is that? The case with the woman from like West Virginia, and she made up all this incredibly ridiculous stuff on Facebook and got her parents to unalive two people that unfriended her. I can't remember. Janelle something. It's eerily similar to that. She actually made up an entire character to take out this family. What a absolute vindictive trash bag human. Now, some of the roles she established for various characters included organization bosses, shot callers, hitmen, and hackers, cops wrote. Over time, they told Huey there was a mole within the organization. A couple of days before the unalivings, Huey received a message that Bartolome was the quote-unquote mole, and she was going to attack him, cops said. Palomo, acting as one of her characters, then began planning the executions with Huey. She showed him the layout of the house and possible cameras in the neighborhood. Huey never knew it was his fiancée behind the plan, per cops. Quote, they discussed the persons residing at the residence, including Zoradia, Albert, and their two children, as well as the number and types of dogs in the house. Ermelinda tells Nathaniel to cause damage and to make the scene appear like a burglary committed by kids. Ermelinda reassures Nathaniel by saying, quote, many murders go unsolved, end quote, the report said. Palomo also told Huey how to carry out the executions. Quote, move through, locate, and hit the 2 adults first, a message said, then the 2 kids. Absolutely ice for blood. This person has no soul. Surveillance video reportedly showed Palomo drive Huey to the murder scene shortly after 3 a.m. on September 16th, 2023. Well, I guess this heifer is also not smart because she didn't know all the cameras around. So glad she got caught. She has to have her day in court, but I'm glad she got caught, and let due process do its process, okay? Now, Huey proceeded to enter the home and shoot the 4 people and 3 dogs a combined 20 times with a 9mm gun. As Long Crime previously reported, Romeoville Police Deputy Chief Chris Byrne told reporters that cops identified Huey and Palomo as suspects a couple of days after the murders and issued an alert to other law enforcement agencies for Huey, the woman, and the vehicle that were believed to be driving. On September 20th, 2023, license plate readers captured the vehicle in Castuga, Oklahoma, more than 600 miles away from where the killings had occurred. Officers tried to conduct a traffic stop, but the vehicle fled. It crashed and caught fire, Burns said. As 2 officers approached the vehicle, they heard what sounded like 2 force multiplier, rounds. They found Huey in the driver's seat and Palomo in the passenger seat, both suffering from, self-deletion. And I hate to say this, but you know what? Judgment's going to take care of them too. Like, you know what? You dodged judgment here on earth, but I don't know. I don't think Satan's going to be a really good boss. But far be it from me to judge your life choices, you utter trash people. Huey was pronounced dead at the scene while the woman was rushed to the hospital. She later died. Police believe that Huey shot Palomo before turning the force multiplier on himself. After the final report's release, Romeoville police chief released a statement to the local media outlets. Quote, the tragic deaths of a young family, including 2 young children, will forever impact the surviving family and those that investigated this case. Nothing can prepare a person for such an incident. Nothing can justify such a senseless act of violence. Although finalized, the finality of this case unfortunately does not mean closure for so many trying to grieve. And what a true statement. It may have been that this family had to go through an entire trial and maybe didn't get the kind of justice, but you want something. And for someone to have put so much effort, so much time, creating so many fake personas, finding out their floor plan, imagine if she had taken this time to be a better person, to help people outside her. Getting cheated on sucks. It sucks all the donkey balls. It does. But that doesn't mean you get to take your pain. As I always say, your pain does not entitle you to inflict pain on others. I am so tired of this mental, I guess, game that people play sometimes where it's like, well, I had a bad this, and this. Then you should be much more aware of how much life can just kick you right in the left tit, and be kinder to people. You should realize exactly how it feels to be maybe misjudged or have an unfair situation or be disappointed or have a ton of emotional baggage and never want to put that on someone else because you know how much it sucks. This woman, I'm going to let Satan deal with this one, okay? Normally I let Jesus take the wheel, but I don't know that she got to meet him, or these two got to meet him, so I'll let Satan deal with it. And I'm okay with that. What in the Walmart rapture is going on here? New York City men's underwear startup hosts popular quote-unquote Tupperware parties with scantily clad models and a few bottles of rosé. I don't know I'd rather go to a pure romance party with my mother and be very, very uncomfortable than be in this general situation. I would rather watch 50 Shades of Grey with my mother in the room than be around scantily clad guys in a weird Tupperware party or a weird underwear party for men. This is not your mother's Tupperware party. The type of confab once reserved for the 1960s suburban housewife, placing bulk orders for plastic containers, is now hawking a very different product: men's underwear. Now, who the hell and how many gummies were needed to have this idea? Because I, listen, I buy Mr. Moe's underwear. Now, tell me they're self-folding and self-cleaning, Imma buy the hell out of them. Put a scantily clad guy in front of me, I'm gonna be like, "Are you gonna drop those on the floor? Am I gonna have to pick them up and do the laundry?" Yeah, I'm out. $60 for a pair of underpants? If it doesn't fold itself and clean itself, I'm out. Instead of tables stacked with kitchenware, the trunk shows involve a troupe of hunky male models stripped down to their skivvies. She looks so incredibly uncomfortable, and he does too. Or actually, she looks happy to be there, and he looks incredibly uncomfortable. He's like, "I'm not smiling with my eyes. I'm a hostage here, and someone get me out." Along with ogling the fellas, guests can sip and snack as they browse products from the startup men's underwear brand Alfex. A party pitch Heidi Hapanowitz couldn't resist. Quote, "I was like, that sounds amazing. Sign me up," the personal brand photographer told the Post, recalling she was approached as a prospective host for the brand's first ever party in her Manhattan apartment. Alfex co-founders Garrett Swan and Tom Speggett came up with the idea of updating the classic shindig to connect directly with consumers and get real-time product feedback. They enlisted the help of business owners or friends to host a party where their sphere of influence, or with about 30 people. Women bring their boyfriends or their spouses. It's just a lot of fun. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all this. I am gonna tell y'all this. As a married couple with 6 children, it is hard for Mr. Mo and I to find times to connect, but I would rather go to Best Buy, the store I hate, with Mr. Mo than going to a an underwear model party. I mean, I hope that there was, like cocktails and shrimps. Oh my gosh, would they serve pig in a blanket, or do you think that would be offensive? Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, no. I changed my mind. I need to host one of these parties because I will have pig in a blanket. I will have beans and weenies. It will be an entire peen, related menu. And if we get Sal in on this, we are cooking with fire. This is a great way for people to go, "Oh, I'm going to shop for underwear for my husband at a party." Said no one ever. Also, women, ladies, Zimzers, it is 2024. But if your husband is anything like my husband, until the holes connect on the waistband, then those underpants are good, and we are not buying new ones. So unless I have an entire like holy, you know, pair of underpants, he's still like, "I don't need underpants. These are broke in." I'm like, "No, they're broke. They're broke in. As in, you are about to lose your waistband, sir." And he's like, "I just got them comfy." So, yeah, miss me with this noise. No man wants to buy new underpants. Changed my mind. Or at least not my husband. When researching men's buying habits, the duo found that one of the driving factors when purchasing new underpants is starting a new relationship. After all, no one wants their new partner to see their ratty undergarments. To be fair, I think women have like granny panties and then like date panties. I never knew that guys had like their granny panties and then their date panties. Who knew? I'm learning all sorts of new stuff. They'll wear the holy crap until we go upgrade for them. Megan Wilkes, a relationship coach from Huntington Bay and past attendee of an Alphex party, told the Post. The intimate gift, she said, flips the script on the age-old tradition of men buying lingerie for women. Not to mention, buying underwear is just not on a man's radar, quipped Welks, 44, who calls the products like the Porsche of underpants. Oh my God, you guys have to see these cookies. Well, and a behind. I don't know, but all these guys look like guys that would bring Zima to a party. Change my mind. I love me a good Zima, but those are like the girliest drinks ever from when I was. What is this abomination of cookiness? They drew on the abs. That's it. I'm not gonna get abs. I'll just draw them on with frosting. The brand averages about $1,000 in sale for every 2-hour party, but the data doesn't take into account repeat customers and word of mouth recommendations after a handful of events they've shown so far. Brooklyn-based marketing consultant Stephanie Taylor, 31, brought her boyfriend along to the brand's most recent pop-up last month, held at a Soho aesthetics clinic. Oh my gosh, guys, can you imagine your girlfriend, gentlemen of the chat, your girlfriend's like, I want you to come to a party with me, and they're like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna meet people, it'll be great, they're gonna have cocktails and we're gonna look for your stuff, I mean, it'll be great. What are they selling? I'll tell you when we get there, sweetie. And then you walk into this. That boyfriend is like, what in the absolute hell's firescape did I come into? I mean, imagine you think you're going to like a pure romance party with your girlfriend, like it's going to be great, you're going to love it. And then you walk into this and you're like, what in the, Top Gun volleyball scene have I fallen into here? Are those male capri pants? I'm sorry, ADHD, but are those male capri pants? Have we come to the point that men now have clam digger pants? What the hell is going on here? All right, I am gonna see how much these stupid underpants cost. Huh. It doesn't say. But I'm guessing these are 100 pair of dollars of underpants. And why the hell do you need a garment rack for underpants? Also, I do kind of like that guy's suit with a bunch of faces on it, but I don't know. Maybe pants or shirt only, not both. What in the... No, this has to be a prank. This has to be a prank on me by the entire year of 2024. Well, there was a moose on the loose in New Hampshire. He decided to take a, dip in a swimming pool and he wasn't going to get out. I can kind of understand that. Police and firefighters in New Hampshire responded to an unusual call Thursday morning. A moose was trapped in a backyard swimming pool. A video shot by police shows rescuers removing a pool covering after arriving at the house at about 8:45 a.m. to reveal an adult moose standing in the water. After the cover was removed, the moose strolled out of the shallow end of the pool and headed to the wooded area next to the home. Well, then all's well that ends well. Look, everyone's hot. It's been a really humid, steamy fall. I say the moose was okay. Uh, Bedford Police Chief Daniel Doy said in a statement that no people or animals were harmed, but I want to remind residents that moose can be very dangerous animals due to their size. And we appreciate residents called us this morning to assist with this situation. Yes, mooses are huge. Meese. They're big. They're giant, huge things, and they can get aggressive. So don't, piss off a moose. There's your... In an interesting thing that you could do in New York, if you wanted to, the Dark Knight and Avengers hidden or forbidden sites among dozens of places NYC festival goers can tour for 1 week in October. So if you want to go to all the places on your favorite movie lists and everything that you've kind of seen on the movies in New York City, this would be for you. A towering Long Island City power plant once featured in a box office blockbusters. English is fundamental. I can't do it. The Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises highlights dozens of normally roped off Big Apple locations curious New Yorkers can get a coveted glimpse into for 1 weekend only. The Open House New York Weekend Festival returns, offering behind the scene tours of more than 270 otherwise forbidden spots around the city on October 18th through the 20th, including iconic Ravenswood generating station, which at the time supplies about 20% of New York's electricity. It's a living museum, said Clint Pumler, CEO of Rise Light and Power, which owns the plant. It's a vital part of what keeps the lights on New York City. It's also one of those things that the public doesn't get a look inside. This is a big piece of infrastructure that's so omnipresent, so vital for New York. The season's This season's open house New York weekend will be a first time that the power plants or in the power plant's 60-year history, it will be granting tours to hard-hatted clad visitors. Though that's not to say New Yorkers haven't noticed the prominent site before. The plant's recognizable exterior has been featured in Christopher Nolan's third installment of his Batman trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. Plummer said, as well as the Avengers 2012 Marvel first film in the Avengers series. Plummer hopes visitors will not only be able to see the plant's decades long history powered by unionized New Yorkers, but also its future in pursuing renewable energy. Other additions this year include the Bronx Music Hall, Bronx Music Heritage Center, as well as the Players, the city's oldest private social club, and in its original Gramercy Park venue. Clubhouse residents or presidents' town's coats highlighted artifacts collected over the club's 135-year history, from painted portraits of famed members such as Ethan Hawke, Morgan Freeman, and Jimmy Fallon, to the skull of the founder, Edwin Booth, brother of Lincoln assassin John Wilkes Booth, used in a performance of Hamlet. Weird, interesting. It's a house that is amazingly architecturally and has amazing artistic elements. You can truly experience this in a close up way, Coates said of its arts based social club. Another open house New York offering includes Textile Conservation Lab at St. John the Divine, where sacred fabrics are repaired and reconstructed in a repurposed 19th century orphanage connected to the cathedral. Tours of active Tribeca construction site, hand-painted sign shop, and even a Greek revival mansion in the Bronx. It's in the nature of New Yorkers. They're almost by definition curious, said Kristen Labutz, executive director of Open House New York, who expects 7,000 tickets to sell out quickly this week. If there's one thing New Yorkers love more than anything, it's access, she said. It's seeing something no one else can see. Some returning highlights for the 21-year-old festival include the former Brooklyn Rapid Transit Power Station, now Powerhouse Arts, and the recently reopened Lewis Latimer House Museum in Queens and the UN headquarters. The first Open House New York weekend debuted 2 decades ago after architect Scott Lauer visited a similar expo in London. Labutz told the Post, it was after 9/11 that Lauer and grassroots groups of architects teamed up to open local spaces in order to New Yorkers uh, to bring them back together and kind of get them involved in their city. And apparently this is, the skull that was used in Hamlet, because why not just have it there for no reason? It's the simple act of discovering something new, a new policy or new idea, and talking to people you might not talk to every day, Labutz said of the festival. It gives access to things hidden in plain sight. Variations of the festival have been held in about 60 cities around the world, from Zurich to Athens, the executive director said. Tickets go on sale at 11 a.m. Tuesday. A full roster of open sites and respective hours can be found on the Open House New York weekend website. A majority of the tours are free. So I don't know if you get to see like the John Wilkes Booth skull for free or not. But I mean, I'd probably look at it, not gonna lie. But I'd also have to leave my house, and that's probably not gonna happen either. In things that Mo wouldn't be able to do not blindfolded, a blindfolded Super Mario 64 player sets an impossible record and an unbelievable feat. I can't even play with both eyes opened and like an emotional support controller. The Super Mario 64 community is in disbelief after a new record was set. Bubzia, a Super Mario 64 speedrunner, did the game's 16-star challenge in under 20 minutes while being blindfolded and unable to see the screen. Bubzia, a Super Mario Brothers speedrunner, it took Bubzia 118 days to complete the Nintendo game in under 20 minutes after previously setting the world record at 22 minutes and 26 seconds. Interesting. How do you play the game if you don't know what you're looking at? I mean, I know what I'm looking at and I still can't play the game, so I'm just trying to. With a blindfold on his face, Bubzia speed ran the game in 19 minutes and 43 seconds in his YouTube video published October the 2nd. Quote, after 10 months of restless grinding, 118 days and streams of practice, runs, and more, the most ambitious goal in blindfolded Super Mario 64 has finally been broken, Bubzia wrote in the description of his video. I am all the confused. He continued, I'm so incredibly happy that I pushed through all the hardships that this challenge has thrown in my face. It's been really a fun blast. There have been so many new viewers to blindfolded speedruns in general, and many stick to me grinding this challenge daily for the last year. I honestly don't have much to say about the run, Bubzia went on. It can still be improved, and maybe I will return one day, but as cliche as it may sound, the much more important part than me breaking this milestone and world record is the absolutely amazing and kind community that I have. Thank you all so incredibly much. So Bubzia then promised to break the 70-star record next. Other members of the Super Mario 64 community commented on Bubzia's video to congratulate him on the major accomplishment. This is going to go down as one of the most important moments in Mario 64 speedrunning, if not speedrunning as a whole, one person wrote. Wow, congratulations, Bubzia. Your dedication and determination is truly inspiring. 118 days, man. You deserve all the respect, another commenter read. Someone else said, the most optimized blindfold run ever by far. So many improvements and piecing together strats and ideas. You made the impossible possible. Unreal, my friend, you've ascended to immortality, a different player commented. Unbelievable feat. I was watching the start of this run live, but had to go. A legend. Bubzia previously gave the Super Mario 64 community an update on his blindfolded speed racing journey 100 days after he started in January. You maybe get to run one per day out of a 3-hour stream where you get past the first stage. It was insanely frustrating to run this. I cannot overstate how mentally taxing this was, he said in a video from September. Super Mario 64 was released in 1996, becoming the first Super Mario game to feature 3D gameplay. It is the best-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time. So there you go. If you would like to pick up a new talent, you can learn to do video game, as King of the Hill would say, as Hank Hill, the video games blindfolded for reasons. I didn't even know this was an option. I wonder if I could just blame everything on me being blindfolded. Like, I'm not terrible at Tetris. I'm blindfolded. I'm training. In what the actual Snell? That is a terrible, terrible wig, sir, and you deserve to be caught just for that wig. Utterly despicable. Doctor in disguise poisoned mother's partner with flesh-eating disease cloaked as a COVID booster. A doctor in the United Kingdom admitted to trying to unalive his mother's partner by poisoning him in an elaborate scheme that included a disguise and fake paperwork. Northumbrian Police Department said in a press release that 53-year-old Thomas Kwan pled guilty to attempted unaliving on Monday in the middle of his trial. According to police, Kwan sent the man fake medical letters claiming he was set to have a COVID booster. Disguised in a wig and fake facial hair while wearing a medical mask, Kwan went to the man's home on January 22nd. Concealing himself well enough that his mom and her partner, who is in his 70s, did not recognize him, he administered the shot to the victim. Prosecutors during the trial said the injection was not a booster but a flesh-eating chemical, according to The Guardian. Kwan reportedly concocted the scheme because he was concerned that he was losing his inheritance from his mother. Not long after receiving the jab, the man became seriously unwell and had to be admitted to the hospital. He showed them letters he had received about the injection, and the hospital staff immediately realized they were fake. They called the cops. The victim had since had numerous operations, including skin grafts, to repair extensive damage to the poisoning caused to his body. He's been left with life-changing injuries following the incident. Officers later discovered Kwan used fake license plates when he drove from his home to a hotel in Newcastle in the early hours of January. Following his arrest, investigators found a poisoner's handbook and a book about murder investigations on his computer. Who does this crap? And all for an inheritance? Look, if you're lucky enough and your parents were able to save, great. But most parents invest a lot more than money into their children. I don't expect anything from my parents. They've invested a lot in making me the person I am. This is ridiculous. How can you be so greedy? Ugh. Just also, how could you pick that wig and think anyone was going to believe you? No one's hair comes down to their forehead. That you have no hairline. Sir, on both moral and wig choosing reasons, you are terrible. Several files regarding poisons to unalive a person and ideal poisons used to evade detection were also uncovered on his computer. Detectives also discovered that Kwan had been installing spyware software on his mother's computer as a way of monitoring her partner's computer usage for over a year. Kwan will be sentenced at a later time. The officer in charge of the case, Detective Chief Inspector Jason Henry of Northumbria Police, praised the victim in the case. Quote, "He has been through a horrendous ordeal and his life has changed forever," he said. "He has shown incredible strength throughout the investigation, and we will continue to support him in any way we can." Henry called Kwan's actions utterly despicable. Quote, "He used his experience as a doctor to deceive the victim into thinking the medical appointment he had arranged was genuine before administering the poison, which caused him unimaginable pain and suffering." Just, Alice G., no, I have standards. Also, he used like 3 tones darker foundation, but didn't blend it in well. So you can see over here on the chin line where he didn't, it's called a beauty blender, and you have to blend that shit in, sir. But come on now. Why? Just why? Movie armor on Alec Baldwin's film Rust pled guilty to another force multiplier charge in a separate case. Thank you so much, photo lady. That reminds me, I need to start printing out all of my pictures. Okay, other moms, tell me if you're guilty of this too. I still have pictures from when I was pregnant with the youngest, most feral, that I need to get printed out. So I am way behind. way behind. Hopefully, other parents deal with the same thing because I am like, oh, and it's not like it's not convenient. There's always those photo centery things at Walmart, and then you can use Shutterfly. I just, I'll be darned if the glimmer of that idea, of that thought ever occurs to me when I have 5 minutes to myself. Oh, poor Hannah Gutierrez Reed. What are we going to do with you? The weapons supervisor in the fatal shooting of cinematographer by Alec Baldwin on the set of Western film Rust pled guilty Monday to a separate criminal charge of carrying a force multiplier into a licensed liquor establishment. Movie armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed agreed to change her plea to guilty on the charge in exchange for a reduced sentence of 18 months of supervised probation. Judge T. Glenn Ellington approved the agreement that allows Gutierrez Reed to begin probation while serving out an 18-month prison term at the New Mexico State Penitentiary for involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. In the Rust case, producers blamed Gutierrez Reed for unwittingly bringing live ammunition onto the movie set and for failing to follow basic safety protocols. Gutierrez Reed shuffled into the Santa Fe courtroom Monday in a beige jumpsuit, handcuffs, and ankle shackles to change her plea to guilty and waive her right to trial. Quote, I would just like to apologize to the court and thank you for your judgment today, end quote, she said. This case stems from evidence that a few weeks before the Rust began filming in October 2021, Gutierrez Reed carried a force multiplier into a downtown bar in Santa Fe where firearms are prohibited. Special prosecutor Carrie Morrissey said Gutierrez Reed filmed herself in the bathroom of the bar with the force multiplier, explaining how she snuck the prohibited firearm in a video that was obtained when authorities searched the armorer's phone during the Rust investigation. Gutierrez Reed was convicted in March at trial of involuntary manslaughter in the fatal shooting of Hutchins. She does have an appeal on that conviction pending at a higher court. And we all know that, Alec Baldwin skated free. There was no Team America moment for Mo, which was very upsetting because I will say, for the love of Cheetos, Alec Baldwin is like the king of Hollywood douches. That's just me. Yeah, I will say, John Gary, I was one good thing on Hannah Gutierrez Reed, and I will say, I have been harsh on her complaining about, how she's not being treated well in prison and all this when, her actions or inactions led to the series of events that caused someone to lose their life and for a little boy to lose his mom and a husband to lose his wife. I didn't really appreciate that aspect of her kind of inability to see the impact that she's had. But today, or what they reported about what she said, going in there, being humble and accepting this plea deal, it shows a very small bit of self improvement. And as a person who has had to grow up and pull my own behind out of my own head out of my behind many times, it's not easy to realize you've been a total jerk face. It's not easy to admit that you have, done a lot of things wrong and you owe people apologies. But if this can be her wake up call, this can be her atonement and redemption, I hope it is. I hope she doesn't allow guilt to, block her from growing and becoming a better person. But it's still Hollywood. So, you know, it could or could not work. In our final story, because holy crapola, but if you were in Chicago and you went to this concert, you might want to get checked out. Chicago concert attendees may have been exposed to potentially rabid bats, health officials say. Please tell me it was an Ozzy concert. Come on, Ozzy concert. The Chicago Department of Public Health issued a warning that attendees of a recent outdoor concert at the popular Salt Shed music venue may may have been exposed to rabid or rabies carrying bats. According to the CDPH, the possible exposure took place between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. September 12th during the outdoor goose concert at the venue located on Elston Street or Elston Avenue. The CDPH noted in a release that bats in and around Chicago area have been found to carry rabies, although not all of them do. Quote, if you attended the concert and were bitten or scratched by a bat or had possible direct contact with a bat, contact a health provider as soon as possible to discuss rabies post exposure prophylaxis, PEP. According to health officials, the exposure concerns are for anyone who attended the concert and may have been bitten or scratched by a bat, or if a bat came into physical contact with bare skin. However, bat bites may be hard to detect, they say, stressing that bites might not have been felt and may leave marks that are not easily seen due to the mammal's small teeth. Well, just another thing to be terrified of when I go to Chicago. If you attended the concert but did not have any contact with a bat, then there are no further actions you need to take. My hypochondria behind would be at the CDC asking for all of the rabies prophylactics. I am not joking. Rabies is terrifies me. Uh, because by the time you realize symptoms, it is way too late to treat. You have a very finite amount of time depending on what extremity or where you are bitten. I only know this because I'm an Uber nerd and watch Roanoke Gaming, and he's a microbiologist that kind of explains to you if zombies or whatever video game thing was real, this might be the morphology and sort of the way that things are going with it. Look, I'm an Uber nerd. I never claimed not to be, but by the time that the rabies, virus moves all the way up to your brainstem and gets past the blood-brain barrier, there is nothing you can do. So, as I said, my hypochondria behind would be in there asking for all the rabies shots. I am not going to lie. Also, wouldn't happen to me because I wouldn't go out of my house. See, y'all make fun of Jamie and me, but we don't have rabbit. Well, okay, I have feral children, but I don't have rabid bats yet. Rabies is a disease that affects the nervous system of humans and other mammals, health officials said. Quote, people get rabies from the bite of an infected animal with the rabies virus. Rabies in humans is almost always a fatal disease. Therefore, it is critical to provide prompt and appropriate rabies post-exposure prophylaxis, PEP, after bat exposures take place. The Salt Shed did not immediately respond to NBC Chicago's request for comment. So again, good to know, John Gary. I I'm just saying, I'm a hypochondriac, so if I were anywhere close to there, I'd be like, I need assistance. Anyone else like this, you are a hypochondriac for things that never will, remotely happen to you. But then if you actually have a real thing, like for a year, you guys, I am not joking, for an entire year, I convinced myself that all of the issues I was having with my leg were completely mental, so I didn't have to go see the doctor. So if you are like me and you're, sure that you would react like a raging hypochondriac on things that will never happen to you, but things that are actually happening in your body, you're in full on denial for, well, then welcome to Moe's Club because Mr. Mo literally almost had to hog tie my stubborn behind, throw me in the car, and make me go back to the doctor because I was like, no, my ankle, this is just how it is. My foot, it's normal. It always feels like it has frostbite. It's always been this way. I don't want to go back to the doctor. He was done. He frog marched my behind back in there. And I'm glad he did because I finally got a diagnosis. But he's like, you think you have everything, but the one time you have something, you refuse to go to the doctor. And I was like, I am a unique unicorn and I can't explain me. No one can. It would take a team of doctors at the Mayo Clinic to explain my weirdness. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I will be back on at 10. I'm going to do some glamorous laundry and mopping, but then I will be back at 10 because we have some of the state's responses to the defense's motions in limine for the Sarah Boone case. And then we will go over the plea deal that she rejected, and we might intersperse that with updates on the hurricane, since I am technically a newsy-ish channel. Also, you guys, on a side note tangent at the end of this, I don't know how Megan wears these shirts with the boob window, because I'm like, ooh, okay, is it a little bit too boobagey? Not enough boobagey? I am not cut out for the boob window shirts, I think. But there you go. Welcome to a day in Mo's life and what she vacillates on constantly. Have a wonderful day. If I don't see you 10 a.m., be safe, be kind, and stay prepared. Do something nice for yourself and someone nice, or something nice for someone else. And people are jerks. Screw them. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Have a great, great day.